Good afternoon and welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner here with Tahisha Moise, Eric Chilton, and Christian Morgan this afternoon.
Yes, this 4 to 5 is an interactive news show where we chat with you in real time on the WFMY News 2 Facebook page. Join the conversation and use that hashtag 4 to 5.
Well, let's get right to it. Our top story today: in less than an hour, a face covering will no longer be a recommendation but a requirement in the city of Greensboro. Mayor Nancy Vaughn issued a declaration yesterday and it takes effect at 5 p.m. We'll get to that story in a moment, but first we want you to weigh in. Head to WFMY.com/vote now or the free News 2 app and tell us who you think is responsible for requiring masks. While you vote, WFMY News 2's Denise McMiller is breaking down what the new order means.
And face coverings, as you said, will be required at 5 p.m. today. That's in both public and private places where social distancing isn't possible. Mayor Nancy Vaughn says that businesses should require folks or their customers to wear face coverings when inside. This emergency order includes parking lots, sidewalks, grocery stores, and public transit. The mayor says by wearing a mask, you are keeping the community safe and stopping the spread of the virus. But there are mixed reactions on this new mandate.
I think it's a very good idea. Most people in our area are taking it very serious and wearing masks. It's the younger people, the ones that push right up against you and cut in on the aisles. They won't abide by distancing. They're just rebellious.
And some of you commented on our Facebook page saying you will not wear a mask because it is not law. Others say this should not be a mandate because there are folks with breathing issues. Health and behavior issues are exceptions to the order. Those under the age of 12, those eating at a restaurant, and folks with religious beliefs will not be required to wear a face covering. And as far as enforcing this, the Greensboro Police Department says that they are going to just encourage folks to follow the requirement voluntarily, but they are able to charge folks with a Class 2 misdemeanor and if folks decide to violate this order. And this order will be in effect until the mayor says so.
The nation's top public health advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, is speaking with Winston-Salem University Chancellor Elwood Robinson tonight. Fauci is joining an episode of Future Focus Now, discussing how the coronavirus is impacting higher education, impacting the virus. They will also be discussing the impact of the virus on minority populations, mandatory mask policies, and where we are in the pandemic today. If you'd like to tune in, the episode airs tonight at 8 on WSNC 90.5's Facebook page.
Well, Dr. Fauci testified today on the United States' progress in the coronavirus pandemic. He says, considering how diverse the nation is, that we've done fairly well in bringing down the numbers. He says his biggest concern is in areas where cases are increasing as all of our economies reopen.
However, in other areas of the country, we're now seeing a disturbing surge of infections that looks like it's a combination, but one of the things is an increase in community spread.
Dr. Fauci says the best way to handle community spread is by testing to identify, isolate, and contact the trace so that health officials can see where cases are spiking and why.
Health experts want you to be aware of a disease whose symptoms present similar to COVID-19. Lyme disease cases tend to spike in the summertime, so I spoke with a local expert about what you need to look for.
They're quite small. You're looking at smaller than the pencil eraser.
Summer means ticks, and they are everywhere.
Pretty crafty. They'll make a home anywhere that they can.
Melanie Martin with Any Lab Tests Now in Greensboro says folks need to be careful while spending time outdoors. Some ticks in our area can carry Lyme disease, an infection that affects the brain and nervous system, muscles and joints, and the heart.
So what will happen is they can actually bite you and they can transmit the Lyme disease that way.
And Martin says it's important to know its symptoms, especially this year.
Fever, chills, and that can kind of feel like you may be getting the flu or can potentially have some other symptoms that related to COVID.
Lyme disease and coronavirus share 4 symptoms: fever, aches and pains, fatigue, and sore throat. But here's where they differ.
If you do have a different symptom, just like with the shortness of breath, that's not something that you're going to get with Lyme disease.
The CDC says shortness of breath and loss of taste and smell are particular to coronavirus, while a bullseye rash is particular to Lyme disease.
Just going to be a simple blood draw.
Martin says it's important for you to get tested for Lyme disease if you feel its symptoms coming on.
It can absolutely compromise your immune system very dangerously. It's very debilitating long term, especially if you don't get the antibiotics that you need to treat it at the onset.
She adds the best way to avoid the disease is to stay away from ticks. So here are some easy ways to avoid ticks. Cover your skin while outdoors. Treat your clothing and shoes with products designed to repel ticks. Do a tick check before heading indoors. Wash your clothes in hot water and dry your clothes in the dryer on a high heat setting, and shower within 2 hours of coming indoors.
Well, we are learning more about an evening crash that killed 4 teenagers. Highway Patrol troopers say 4 teenage boys died in the crash on I-40 near Highway 61 in Guilford County. Responders were called to the scene around 6:30 last night. 16-year-old Maurice Williams was driving when he lost control of the car and hit a tree. Troopers are not sure how fast Williams was going at the time of the crash. Williams' 15-year-old Justin Porter, 16-year-old Sequoia Delaney, and 16-year-old Javon Johnson died. One teenager did survive the crash, 15-year-old Isaiah Howard. State Patrol says Howard and the front seat passenger were the only ones who were wearing their seatbelts.
And let's switch gears a little bit and we'll talk about the weather. It is hot and it is muggy. No joke about that. And I'm going to start with dew points because that is what is making our air feel so muggy outside. Dew points in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. You add that in with the heat and our temperatures, even though they're in the mid 80s, they feel like they're in the upper 80s or close to 90 in some spots. It has been raining to the mountains. You can clearly see that where the temperatures are lower. So far it has been quiet across the triad, but as we go through the rest of the evening hours, we'll watch those storms, see how they progress, and we could have some pop-up storms across the triad tonight. Very scattered in nature, but some of them could be strong or even severe with an isolated damaging wind gust or two. Not expecting anything more than that. So our rain chances and our storm chances go up as we head through the evening hours, but then after sunset they really drop back quite a bit. Tonight it'll still be muggy. Temperatures in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees, and for your Wednesday, it's another warm day. Temperatures in the mid 80s, but we'll have less of a chance to get storms in the afternoon. We're basically just dry and hot for the rest of the week.
It's time now for your 4 to 5 roundup. Another Greensboro restaurant is closing its doors permanently. Southern Lights Bistro posted on their Facebook page that they'll not reopen. The restaurant did not explain why, but thanked all customers, co-workers, and vendors for their business over the years. Cone Health is operating at full service once again. All office visits, tests, and procedures that were delayed because of coronavirus will start once again. Cone Health says they're taking extra precautions like putting an acrylic sheet between employees and patients, and there will also be fewer waiting room chairs in lobbies. Everyone is required to wear a mask, and caregivers will have face shields. Healthcare workers will also be screened every day, and patients will get a coronavirus test before they're admitted to the hospital for surgery. Several tech companies are reacting to news that President Donald Trump suspended specific work visas. Google CEO tweeted, quote, "Immigration has contributed immensely to America's economic success," and the CEO of Apple expressed disappointment with the decision. Trump's administration announced they're suspending work visas to help combat the economic impact of the coronavirus. The administration says the suspension will help Americans who are still looking for work during the pandemic. Visas are impacted in fields like technology and non-agricultural seasonal workers. The order is in place through the end of the year. Continue the conversation with us right now. We are live on WFMY News 2's Facebook page. Use our hashtag 4 to 5. We'll be back.
As the FBI continues investigating who hung a noose in NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace's garage, his mother is talking about the FaceTime call she received from her son the day the noose was found. Our sister station in Knoxville, Tennessee spoke with Desiree Wallace.
I'm just in total shock, total disbelief. And I could see his face, it's like he wanted to cry because he was just hurt.
Desiree Wallace taught her son Bubba from an early age, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. He's found his voice over the last few weeks. It's cried, "Black Lives Matter," "I can't breathe," and most recently called for the removal of the Confederate flag from NASCAR events. He's received support, he's received hate, and on Sunday night, NASCAR says a noose was found in his garage at Talladega.
They are more fearful. I said, that was a cowardly act. I said, and they fear you. People that do that are living in fear for whatever reason.
Wallace took his mother's words to heart, saying in a statement, "This will not break me. I will not give in, nor will I back down. I will continue to proudly stand for what I believe in." It's something he learned from his mother, who grew up in Knoxville, went to school at Central, and ran track at UT. For her, it's evidence of a systemic problem.
It's just confirmation that things are broken in the system and they need to be addressed. And now we're at a point in history where we can no longer, turn our backs.
NASCAR has said it has Wallace's back. Drivers pushing his car before Monday's Geico 500. Racing icon Richard Petty flying to Talladega to be with Wallace. Desiree says the noose, a symbol of lynching, racism, and violence for the black community for centuries, won't silence her and won't silence her son.
God allows us to make enemies our stepping stool. You know what I'm saying? So they just put you on a whole nother level. Look who's talking about, what is everybody talking about this morning? Bubba Wallace. So we find out who it is. If you ever get to meet them face to face, say thank you. That's what I told them today. Say thank you.
Desiree says Bubba's activism is fueled by his cousin's death, who was killed by police in 2003. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. D.C. police are now monitoring protesters in Black Lives Matter Plaza. Overnight protesters trying to tear down Andrew Jackson's statue in front of the White House. Police told demonstrators to leave the plaza and remove tents and all belongings from the autonomous zone. D.C.'s deputy mayor released a statement on the removal of the encampment. It said authorities are always worried about encampments because they're not safe.
President Donald Trump tweeted that he authorizes the federal government to arrest anyone who vandalizes or destroys monuments if they're on federal property. Now, the president says the order applies to any federal property in the United States. President Trump says the act is punishable by up to 10 years in prison through Veterans Memorial Preservation Act. Now, he says that the order takes effect immediately, but can also apply to any destruction previously caused.
Well, a new Associated Press poll shows most Americans hope for criminal justice reform. Those surveyed say they want a stronger definition for use of force and consequences if officers abuse power. Americans polled support a penalty against officers who racially profile. And 29% of people think the entire system needs to be changed. 40% are in favor of major changes. 25% say minor changes are needed, while only 5% say the system is fine.
Lawmakers in New Mexico are pushing for mandatory body cameras for all state and local law enforcement. Under the proposed bill, video would be archived for up to 120 days, and departments that ignore the requirement could be sued for withholding evidence. The bill also includes new sanctions for police convicted for use of excessive force or for failing to stop police brutality. Any officer convicted would lose police certification unless pardoned by the governor. Lawmakers say 26 out of 33 county sheriff's departments already use body cameras in New Mexico.
Well, many police departments across the country do have body cameras in place in their departments, but I wanted to know if you feel it should be mandatory for all departments. So I asked you all on my Facebook page today. Let's get into some of your comments. Cynthia Ward writes, yes, so they can have proof of the ones that are truly committing wrongdoing and prove the innocence of the truly good ones. Denise writes, yes, then there will be no doubt about what actually happened. Chris says yes, and make sure they work. For some reason, they malfunction a lot. Tasha says absolutely, and if there's any evidence that they have been tampered with or purposely covered, then that officer should face consequences. And Barbara writes, absolutely, for protection of both parties. It should also be allowed for public viewing so everyone could see everything that happens instead of going on a lot of hearsay. So really everyone on my Facebook page, Maddie, Eric, 100% said yes, they believe that this should be implemented in all police departments. And then the reasons they gave after that, making sure that they are turned on, making sure they're working, some of the things they're hoping to see as well.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to wear them, then they probably should allow, the video to be assessed by anybody, really. It's almost like, to me, it seems like if we're paying for police and they wear those body cams, then I think the public has a right to see what's on the body cams. And if you're doing the right thing, you don't have to worry about it.
And as a journalist, we're always seeking the truth and we're always trying to collect as much evidence as possible. And video is a big part of that. So I feel like it would protect all parties involved to be able to give the perspective of what happened if something were to happen.
Yeah, and technology today, we have the ability to do that and to store a lot of video in such a small space as well.
All right, well, we can continue this conversation on WFMY News 2's Facebook page. We are live there. Just search for our live video and use our hashtag 4to5.
You know, a lot of people have the dream of owning their own business. I think all of us have thought about that at one point or another. But a restaurant owner in Greensboro says that his story took him 3,000 miles across the country, 3,000 miles back to his roots right here in the Triad to make his dream come true. It's one of the newest restaurants in Greensboro called Machete. I spoke with the owner, Tal Blevins, this morning about his experience.
Well, Tal, when you're talking food, you're talking my language. I'm so excited that you guys are here. How did you develop this idea? And give me a little bit on the history of Machete.
Well, you know, I was part of the pop-up restaurant scene in San Francisco when I lived out there. I grew up here in Greensboro. I went to Page High School, went to UNCG, but moved out to San Francisco as a tech journalist for 20 years. Moved back here about 3 years ago and really wanted to bring some of that San Francisco food, you know, that very modern style of food that I really missed back here. So I ran into a couple of really good chefs who used to work at LaRue here in Greensboro. We got talking about doing this supper club idea out of my house for friends and family. And that's kind of where the idea of Machete was born. We would do like these 10-course meals. And we said, hey, it's probably time to open up a restaurant.
Well, talk a little bit about coming home, because that must have been kind of an interesting, I can't think of a greater shift in culture than going from San Francisco back to Greensboro. What's it been like for you?
I'll say, you know, it's been great so far. I think my wife describes it the best. She's California born and bred. She's loving it here. But she always says, you know, I love the pace of life here. It's a little bit slower. The people are super nice. It takes you about 20 more minutes at the grocery store because 7 or 8 strangers ask you your life story. But other than that, everything's great. And that was a big part for us in moving back to Greensboro, is that we wanted to know our neighbors and that we wanted to help enhance the community and be a part of the community. And we really wanted, you know, to be part of the flavor, almost literally, of the town.
Well, Tal, you came to the right place if you want to talk to your neighbors, that's for sure. Thanks for taking time out today. Best of luck to you.
So if you want more information for this story and on Machete too, I've linked you to their website through ours. Just look for this story on WFNYnews2.com. Pretty cool place. I haven't eaten there yet, but I plan on doing so.
And let's take a look outside at your weather. It is muggy, and it's also really hot as well. Dew points are in the upper 60s to near 70. That's why it feels so sticky, and you add that in with our heat, and temperatures, even though they're in the mid-80s, it feels like they're in the upper 80s. Even close to 90 in some spots, but if you look at our temperature map, you can tell where it's been raining, back to the west and along the mountains. They've had an afternoon full of showers and even a few thunderstorms. We're keeping an eye on those as they are getting closer to the Triad, and as we go through the evening hours, we'll watch for some extra pop-up storms across the area. They'll be very scattered in nature, but some of them could be a little strong or even severe with an isolated damaging wind gust or two. High pressure to our south still pushing in that warm and moist air, but there is a cold front on our back door, and that will cross the area as we go through your day on Wednesday. Behind that, our temperatures do stay warm, but we do get a little bit of a break in the humidity as high pressure builds in and really keeps us dry for the next couple days. Tonight, we're still going to be muggy, watching for some storms, upper 60s to near 70 degrees. Tomorrow, a little bit drier, keeping a low-end chance for a thunderstorm in there, but temperatures in the mid-80s. 4 to 5, we'll be right back.
Hello, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Mic check, easy breezy. That was a cheer in high school.
Easy breezy lemon squeezy. Hello, check it, 1, 2. Check.
Hello, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Is that right? Is it cover girl? Who does that ad?
Good afternoon and welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Tahisha Moyes alongside Maddie Gardner, Christian Morgan, and Eric Chilton. You know, this is an interactive newscast and we want you to be a part of the conversation.
Yes, we are live right now on WFMY News 2's Facebook page and our YouTube channel. If you want to talk with us, just use our hashtag 4 to 5.
After cities across the nation have seen sometimes violent clashes over Confederate monuments, the city of Salisbury monument, I should say, is moving peacefully. It's being moved after the city reached an agreement with the United Daughters of the Confederacy. WFMY News 2's Jess Winters details how the conversation started.
After 112 years, the famed Confederate statue in Salisbury is being relocated. Salisbury police say this downtown monument has been vandalized numerous times, but it wasn't until May 31st that things took a violent turn. Officers say a counter-protester fired a pistol into the air multiple times in the middle of a crowd.
We could not any longer chance that that a human life would be sacrificed at this point over a stone and bronze statue.
Mayor Karen Alexander said the resolution to remove the statue was passed unanimously by City Council, and because it proved to pose a threat to the public, it was able to bypass the 2015 Historical Monuments Law. But the statue itself is owned by the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
So the beginning conversations were with citizens in our city that knew and could get in touch, and then finally at the end I was speaking directly to the UDC and to answer questions. Obviously they were concerned about where it was going to be moved, how it would be moved.
Admitting it was hard to initially get in touch with the UDC, Mayor Alexander said they eventually came to a compromise.
Because the UDC leadership actually signed the agreement 5 days earlier than their deadline, which was this coming Friday. That gave us a week ahead, to get something started. So it's going to be really good for our community.
The statue will be moved to Old Lutheran Cemetery, where the mayor says there will be more historical context. She says it'll be moved as soon as possible, but didn't have an exact date.
Jess, thank you. Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup this afternoon. Friends and family are gathering to honor the life of Rayshard Brooks, a black man who was killed by police in Atlanta. An officer shot and killed Brooks after he failed a field sobriety test when authorities found him in his car in a Wendy's drive-thru lane. The officer who reportedly shot Brooks, Garrett Rolfe, is charged with felony murder. Brooks' services are happening at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a pastor. Reverend Dr. Bernice King, King's daughter, spoke at the service. Wearing a face mask becomes a requirement in Greensboro in less than an hour. The city announced yesterday that they will require people to wear face masks in public in the city limits starting at 5 o'clock. Mayor Nancy Vaughn issued the emergency proclamation requiring face coverings anywhere people are in public or private places where social distancing is difficult. Now, the city defines a face mask as material that covers the nose and the mouth and can be secured with straps or ties. Companies are limiting their advertising on Facebook now. Patagonia, North Face, and REI are participating in a new movement called Stop Hate for Profit. The movement includes groups like the Anti-Defamation League and the NAACP. They are asking companies to stop advertising on Facebook during July, claiming the site allows racist, violent, and false content to go unfiltered.
Well, President Trump said he is in favor of a second round of stimulus payments for Americans. The president says that lawmakers are working on another stimulus package to curb the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the president said that Americans can expect an announcement from the administration in the coming weeks on what that stimulus package will actually look like. The White House officials there said that no decisions have been made just yet, but an economic team is working on logistics right now. Democrats have proposed different options for another round of stimulus payments. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said if another package is voted on, it would come together next month in July.
And that current proposal on the table suggests a $3 trillion package called the HEROES Act. Now, the bill passed in May, but it still needs to go through debate in the Senate. If passed, higher income households will not get a payment unless they have children or dependents. Single taxpayers making $75,000 or less would be eligible for a second stimulus check. Married couples making no more than $150,000 are also eligible if they file jointly. Families would get an additional $1,200 for each child in their family, up to 3 children, and college students claimed as dependents would get their own payment. Americans married to immigrants would also get a check.
The location for October's presidential debate has been moved. Now, the debate was originally set to take place at the University of Michigan, but it's now happening in Miami, Florida. The university said it's no longer feasible to host the debate there. It's going to happen on October 15th in Miami. It will be the second debate of 3 in which President Donald Trump will face presumed Democratic nominee Joe Biden. Other debates include a September 29th debate in Indiana and an October 22nd debate at Belmont University in Tennessee.
So coronavirus cases continue to rise worldwide, and new hotspots seem to be popping up in a variety of places as the death toll also continues to rise. CBS's Ian Lee reports from London.
Wartime measures are in place in Beijing as China fights an outbreak of COVID-19. The country locked down neighborhoods and deployed an army of health workers who've tested nearly 2 million people in the past week. Officials believe their heavy-handed approach corralled the virus from spreading. As China deals with its latest outbreak, the World Health Organization warns the number of cases globally is still climbing.
It seems that almost every day we reach a new and grim record. Yesterday, more than 183,000 new cases of COVID were reported to WHO.
Most of those cases come from Latin America, the latest COVID hotbed. Overnight, Brazil reached a death toll of 50,000, second only to the United States. While Mexico is recording the highest daily death toll after a surge of new cases. Europe is also grappling with the virus. Germany locked down one region after reporting a spike in cases at a meatpacking plant. But other countries on the continent continue to reopen and welcome back tourists. Spain received its first international flights after the country reopened its borders over the weekend. And here in the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister just announced the country is easing restrictions. Restaurants, movie theaters, and bars are set to reopen on July 4th. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Dr. Anthony Fauci testified on Capitol Hill today about the White House's response to the coronavirus pandemic here in the United States. Fauci says there are multiple vaccines that are being researched right now, and he expects one of those vaccines to go into phase 3 of study next month. Fauci adds the next couple of weeks will be important as states work to reopen while containing the spread of the virus.
Right now, the next couple of weeks are going to be critical in our ability to address those surgings that we're seeing in Florida, in Texas, in Arizona, and in other states. They're not the only ones that are having a difficulty.
And Dr. Fauci said new case numbers in states are up to 30,000.
And weather-wise, it is a hot and muggy day, but you might have noticed some extra clouds in the sky this afternoon. You can see that on our weather camera over Wake Forest University, and those clouds will thicken up as we go through the evening hours, and you can tell where it's already been raining today back to the west and along the mountains, where their temperatures are much cooler, but still here in the Triad, we've got mid-80s, and we have very muggy air, making it feel like it's in the upper 80s or even close to 90. Keeping our eyes on the radar as these showers and storms move from the west and from the foothills into the Triad area, and we could have several pop-up storms across the area as we go through the evening hours, some of which could be strong or severe with an isolated damaging wind gust or 2. So we're still pouring in that warm and humid air, but we do have a cold front crossing our area as we go through your Wednesday. Behind that, we do get a little bit of a break from the humidity, and high pressure will come in to dry us out. Temperatures in the upper 60s to near 70 overnight. But for your Wednesday, very low storm chance. It will be a little less humid, temperatures in the mid-80s for afternoon highs. Your 7-day forecast pretty much is just dry and hot. Summer is summering, temperatures close to 90 as we head through the weekend.
Former African-American Survivor contestants are speaking out this Friday. The group will host Tribes and Tribulations, a live discussion of their experiences being contestants of color on a competitive reality show. The discussions will focus on uncovering racism and making a change for the future of reality television. The event will stream on YouTube. That'll happen live this Friday at 6:30. I'm always pleased to see just conversations of how do we move forward as a society, right? And I think this is a way to get that conversation started with reality TV stars.
Yes, and it is so rare to see a person of color lead a reality TV show. I know there's been a push in recent weeks to try to get more contestants on those shows, but it's certainly something that needs to be discussed. So I'm glad the Survivor contestants are taking it into their own hands here.
Yeah, and it's one thing to talk, and it's another thing for people to listen and the executive heads to take a liking to what they have to say. So will that happen after this conversation? We don't know at this time, but the conversation's there. It's going to be on the YouTube page. So if an executive happens to see it, maybe we'll see change.
Absolutely. That's a good point there, Tasha. All right, well, we are heading to break, but we are always open to hearing your thoughts about the news of the day. So join our conversation on Facebook. Use our hashtag 4to5.
Well, there is a new kid in town when it comes to Greensboro eateries. Machete is definitely one of a kind. And today I spoke with the owner, Tal Blevins, to get really the inside scoop on this restaurant, which, by the way, is filled with unique cuisine.
Well, Tal, of course, we have to talk about the food. When I heard the name Machete, I didn't know what to expect. Tell me what it's all about there.
I always like to say we're a farm-to-table restaurant, but that farm might be in Argentina. So if there's a great global ingredient that we want to use, we're going to get it from anywhere. We do love to use local produce. North Carolina is great about all the local, meat sourcing that we have and all the local produce and farms. But we also love to throw in some Asian flavors with that. We love to throw in some South American flavors. We like to kind of do an homage to just great food around the world.
Is it the type of restaurant where if I came in and said, I'm feeling like some sort of a pasta creamy sauce thing, that you guys can come up with something?
No, really, we want to show you what we want to highlight. We have an expression of the ingredients that we're working with that we want you to try and surprise you a little bit. That said, we obviously can accommodate any kind of allergies or any kind of dietary restrictions. We plan to do on the last Sunday of every month, we want to get back to our supper club roots, and we'll do a big, community table, and we'll go through a whole tasting menu with wine periods as well too.
All right, so I have to ask, what is your personal favorite on the menu right now?
My personal favorite on the menu as of today is the smoked duck wings. The smoked duck wings to me they're just so rich, and I think it's just the kind of the perfect Asian style, huge dinosaur chicken wing, basically.
A dinosaur chicken. You're killing me over here. Now I'm hungry. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for your time today. Best of luck to you guys.
So now that I'm hungry again, I asked you on my Facebook page, what restaurant are you itching to get back to if we can get ourselves into phase 3? Here's what some of you had to say today. Lisa House Cooper gave us a laundry list here. She said, I've been dining in for several weeks now, and she goes, I'm ready for Bella's in Thomasville, La Hacienda, and Spiros in High Point, and Ranchos in Archdale. She's got them lined up. MD Moore says, as long as the restaurant is set up for social distancing, I'm looking forward to the box seat. Janet Adkins says, already visited mine last night, Texas Roadhouse. Not a bad one. Laura Cox is more cautious here. She said Don Juan's, but I'm not going anywhere until these coronavirus numbers start going down. Simple as this, Laura just goes hops on Lawndale, and Travis Reed said Liberty Oak in downtown Greensboro. So lots of choices out there, and I'm just ready to get back to any of them, to be honest.
Just desserts for Chilton here, because if you remember before the pandemic, he'd go out all the time and do these food stories and get to eat all day, and then Tasha and I would be in here in the building starving. So I kind of like that you're stuck to your office.
Well, here's the thing, he would bring food back though.
You love that I can't eat.
You would bring food back though. Now you can't, since you're doing it virtual.
See how that works?
Well, I am excited to feel back to normal, that I can go out and sit at a restaurant. I know that several dining rooms are already open in the Triad, so that is an option, but I'm looking forward to the day where, there's no concern over it.
And weather-wise, it's not impacting us, but we do have to talk about what is now Tropical Storm Dolly. If you ask me, it's a little bit of a waste of a name. We wasted a good name on this, but it's not going to impact the Carolinas or really land at all. It's going to continue to spin out over the Atlantic and just slowly move away from us over the next several days. It is of no concern to land or people, and especially us in the Carolinas. It's just hot and muggy here. Temperatures in the mid-80s, but all that increased humidity makes it feel like it's closer to 90. Although on the temperature map, you can see where it's already been raining today, some showers and storms back to the west along the mountains and the foothill communities as well. And we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the evening hours. We could have some scattered storms, a few of which could be strong or severe with a damaging wind gust. Temperatures in the upper 60s to near 70 overnight. A better day for your Wednesday, a little less humid. Temperatures still in the mid-80s, but we will have a much lower storm chance. It's just mainly dry and hot as we go through the next several days. Temperatures close to 90 again over the weekend.
So this is an interesting tech story for you. If your palm is itching, you may be close to winning $25,000. Okay, a company is launching something called the Finger on the App game. If you play and win, you can get $25,000 simply by keeping your finger on your phone the longest. The game is a one-time only event. It's happening on June 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So when the game starts, you just put your finger on your phone and you have to keep it there longer than anyone else. That's it. There is one twist for every person who loses. They determine how much the winner gets because they vote afterward. And it seems like the app is only available in the Apple Store right now. So Android users are out of luck for this one. Do you think you could do it? What do you think about this?
Yes, I don't. That's I'm trying to think of, because some people are gonna, like, you have to sleep with your finger on that phone. How, you know what I mean? Like, how is that gonna happen?
There's just so many things that I'm thinking, situations like, yeah, I'm here with my phone because I'm trying to win however much money it is. It's kind of like those competitions they used to have at the car dealerships where you got to keep your hand on the car. At least the phone is small.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess it could be discreet, right?
Well, you just think about all the places you go in the day, and I'll let you think about that. But you're going to have to take your phone with you no matter where you go or what you're doing. Right. So they did say that the whole point of this is because we're always distracted and we're always like in 7 different places at 7 different times. So they're making it so we have to concentrate on one task and only that one task for the longest.
I just think of all the teens and myself, who are always on our phones, right? As our parents would say. And now you can say, well, I'm on my phone because I'm trying to win some money. Maybe I'll give you some if I win.
And you do get bonus lives if you are spaced out between 6 to 10 feet from someone else. So they're encouraging social distancing with this game as well. I'm not signing up for this. We'll see. We'll be right back.
Yep. Let's see. I'm talking about body language. Is there a genetic component or is it just learned? I'll be talking.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Okay, have you ever heard someone say a child is the spitting image of their mother or their father? That usually means the child is acting, behaving, or sounding like their parent, and part of acting like a parent would certainly include showing similar body language. So Blanca Cobb, our body language expert, is here to talk about whether there's a genetic component to body language, excuse me. So Blanca, let's jump right in. How does genetics play a role in body language?
That's a great question. And there is a genetic component to it, although it's very controversial. But a majority of the research is showing that there is a genetic link there's a fascinating study done by Dr. David Matsumoto at San Francisco State University. So what he did is he compared athletes who were born blind and athletes who were sighted, who could see. And what they found out, what him and his team found out, is that they showed the same excitement and enthusiasm when they won, but also when they lost, that disappointment and that anger and that sadness or contempt and disgust. And the argument is, if you've never seen it, then there's no way you could have learned it.
Very interesting. So if it's not all genetics, what else plays into our body language?
It's learned. So mom and dads have to be very careful, because what you show is what your children will mimic. For example, let's say dad, when he thinks, he grabs his chin and he might rub it with his finger and he gets the furrowed eyebrows. So if a child sees that, then they might adopt it, and that would lend to, gosh, you're the spitting image of your dad.
Yes, I always hear that about my mom. Blanca, thank you so much. You can continue the conversation with her on her Facebook page. We'll be right back.
Hello, mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5.
Hi there, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia.
You'll not only have to wear a mask in public, but also in private places where social distancing isn't possible. Mayor Nancy Vaughn.
Hello, mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10.
It's time for my 2 cents, and I have to be honest with y'all, I am so tired of this virus. Now, I know me telling you this and feeling this way won't make it go away faster or fix anything, but maybe it will help you feel like you're not alone. You're not. I and many others are right there with you. When this started in March, I was optimistic. I thought we'd get through this quickly. The brightest minds in the world are working on vaccines and treatments, and I naively assumed we'd be out of the woods in a matter of weeks. Yet here we are, months later, still waiting. I'm burnt out, over it, done, frustrated. I miss going out without wearing a mask. I miss seeing friends who I haven't seen in weeks. I miss not having to worry about loved ones getting sick. I I miss going to church in person. I miss my ability to go out and about and not be on edge the entire time. But even though I'm frustrated, I'm not going to pretend like this virus doesn't exist, like life is back to normal and I can live like I did before the pandemic. I'm not going to forget that I have a part to play in keeping people safe and keeping the number of cases down. It's hard for me especially because there's really no precedent for this kind of thing. If I start to feel burnt out at work, I can take a day off. If my family is pressing on my nerves, I can go be on my own for a bit. But I can't just escape the virus yet. And when you can't see the finish line, it's hard to stay in the race. But know this, I'm running with you. A lot of people are. Yeah, I'm slowing down right now, catching my breath. Maybe you are too. But if you're someone who's picking up their pace and finding your stride, help those of us who are lagging behind. It's been said before, it's been said maybe too many times, but it's true. We're in this together, and that's the only way we'll make it to the end. That's my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
Face masks are now officially required in the city of Greensboro.
Before we break it down, we want to hear from you. Who do you think is responsible for requiring masks?